can't believe I'm saying this, but Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Scamalot, is selling matches?
Meghan Markle's obnoxious hypocrisy has just been exposed as she tells Prince Harry, finally, get a job. Do you remember that old song? Get a haircut, get a job. I guess for Harry, it might be get a hair transplant and get a job. I'm almost speechless.
Oh man, it's so funny, Dan. It's so funny.
On May 28th, 3 simple words appeared on the brand's social media page: arriving tomorrow. It seemed like a small teaser, just a brief hint about what was coming next. Then the following morning, the mystery was revealed. A box of matches. Yes, matches were the latest item introduced by Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever. But that's where the conversation started picking up speed. The matches were marketed as the perfect companion to the brand's candles. Yet some customers had previously reported receiving candles that they claimed could not be used as expected.
She's selling match sticks. Okay, she's not doing a clothing line. She's not doing homeware. She is going to sell matches. Apparently these are luxury matches.
It's the kind of situation that caught plenty of attention online. The company described them as limited edition matches, giving the release an exclusive feel. However, many social media users quickly pointed out that matches are not typically viewed as luxury products. They're usually inexpensive and easy to find in countless stores. There was another detail that got people talking too. The matches were not available as a standalone purchase.
There are no $100 candles on my site. That's so obnoxious. I just want things that you can have. And so I want people who really understand that ethos and enjoy sort of the fun and frivolity of it all.
Oh yes, you're finally realizing what we think about you, Meghan. Totally obnoxious.
Instead, they were included with selected candle bundles. The most expensive option, the Signature Scent Collection, includes 4 candles along with the complimentary matches and carries a price tag of $256, or roughly 190 pounds. For many shoppers, that's a significant amount for a candle bundle and a box of matches. Then came the promotional photo, and that sparked an entirely new round of reactions. This wasn't a random image. It was a photo selected and shared by the brand itself. The picture showed a candle that appeared heavily burned through the center, creating what some viewers described as a tunneling effect.
Of course, that was the year 2016 that she started dating Prince Harry. 10 years on, her critics pointed out that she is currently selling her own scented candle set for more than double the $100 price tag she dismissed as obnoxious. Yes, it's the $256 Signature Scent Collection. But all of this is desperate, isn't it?
Resting on top of a box filled with unused matches was a single burned match. People online noticed it almost immediately. The image quickly became a talking point across social media. Some users joked about the visual, while others questioned whether the photo presented the product in the best possible way. Before long, comment sections were filling up with observations, reactions, and lighthearted jokes. The response quickly split into different camps. Some people wondered if the entire presentation was intentionally playful, while others focused on customer reports regarding candle quality. Several commenters made jokes about the matches, suggesting they seemed to be getting nearly as much attention as the candles themselves. The internet, as usual, had plenty to say.
I received a Meghan Markle wickless candle, and so I have to ask, what am I supposed to light? What am I going to light because I have no wick? Okay, kind of like Prince Harry these days, the wick is missing. I have no wick, I'm wickless, and she's witless.
For many observers, the whole situation felt surprisingly unusual. Here was a brand connected to someone who has spent years in the global spotlight, involved in major projects and high-profile partnerships. Yet much of the online discussion was now centered on a box of matches and customer reactions to candle products. Now, to be fair, no company should be judged entirely on a single reported issue. One customer complaint does not automatically define a business. However, the discussion continued after additional reports surfaced. Another well-known reviewer also claimed to have received a candle that did not meet expectations. At the same time, there was an important detail worth noting.
You are not going to believe what happened when I opened the box, when I got back. There's no wick again!
According to reports, that particular candle came through a third-party seller who stated that the product was complete when it originally left their possession. Because of that uncertainty, it's only fair to approach those claims carefully and avoid making firm assumptions based on limited information alone. But the issue many people kept coming back to wasn't the reports about missing wicks. It was something else entirely: the candle's burn pattern.
No way to light this thing.
Did you like it?
Seriously, look. It comes out just like that, and literally no wick.
How can this happen when we only made 100 candles?
Specifically, people were discussing what candle enthusiasts often call tunneling. That's when a candle burns mostly down the center, leaving a thick layer of unused wax around the edges of the container. Those familiar with candle design often say this can happen for several reasons, including wick size, burn conditions, or how the candle is formulated. Put simply, some critics associate this type of burn pattern with products that don't perform as expected.
Plus, a limited edition matchbox you can only get by buying the bundle. £190 in the UK, $256 in the US. The candles are tunneling, so the wax burns down the center of the candle instead of across the whole surface, which is what happens when you use cheap paraffin instead of soy or beeswax. One critic on the record in the British press put it plainly: that's because she's using very cheap and toxic paraffin wax. Cheap and toxic.
Especially when compared to premium candles marketed as luxury items. It's the kind of thing some customers say they don't expect when paying premium prices for a carefully branded product. A few online users even began speculating about the wax itself. However, it's important to separate assumptions from verified facts. Since the company has not publicly shared a detailed ingredient breakdown, those claims remain opinions and cannot be independently confirmed. Even so, the overall online reaction became difficult to ignore. Nicknames and jokes began spreading across social media. Some critics used labels such as the Temu Duchess, while others jokingly referred to the launch as Scam Jam. To be clear, these were social media jokes and expressions of dissatisfaction, not factual conclusions or legal findings. They simply reflected how some users chose to react to the situation online. Then another detail started drawing attention.
The wax has been described publicly as cheap and toxic. The candles are also tunneling, which means the wax burns straight down the middle like a sad little whale or Harry's soul, instead of melting evenly across the top. So anyone who has ever bought a $15 candle from Target knows that's the sign of a bad pour.
According to the company's stated policy, many purchases are generally not eligible for returns. As a result, some customers expressed concern that they had limited options if a product arrived in a condition they weren't happy with. Critics argued that spending roughly £190 on a premium bundle naturally creates high expectations, especially when product-related discussions are already circulating online. And right in the middle of that conversation, the brand introduced the matches. For many observers, the timing felt unusual given the ongoing discussions surrounding the candle products themselves. But to understand why the matches became such a major talking point, it's necessary to look back at the brand's earlier history. According to critics, questions and challenges have followed the project since its earliest stages.
Imagine Meghan Markle. She comes running downstairs in the Montecito mansion in her jean booty shorts, and she goes, Harry, I've got a brilliant idea how we're gonna get rich. I'm going to sell matches. I am going to sell matchsticks. And then she runs off through the house, and Harry sits there and he goes, I must be really bloody high. Or did my wife just tell me she's selling matchsticks?
Originally, the venture wasn't known as Ever at all. It launched under the name American Riviera Orchard, a title that attracted considerable attention but reportedly faced trademark-related challenges. Reports suggested that the U.S. Trademark Office raised concerns because the name was closely associated with a geographic location. There were also reports of questions regarding similarities to other names already operating in the marketplace. As a result, the original branding effort encountered obstacles before it could fully move forward. The company eventually shifted course and adopted a different identity. American Riviera Orchard was replaced with As Ever, a shorter and simpler name that appeared to avoid many of the concerns that had surrounded the earlier branding approach.
So then Prince Harry, he goes over to the phone. Prince Harry, he picks up the phone. Bling, bling, bling. William, I've made a terrible mistake, my brother. She is selling Matches, I'm coming home.
But as many observers pointed out, changing the name didn't stop the public scrutiny that followed the brand's every move. Then came the brand's first major product launch, jam. More specifically, strawberry jam packaged in limited edition jars and reportedly sent to a select group of influencers, celebrities, and well-known contacts. The goal seemed obvious: build excitement, generate attention, and get people talking about the brand from the very beginning. The strategy appeared straightforward: send the jam to recognizable names, encourage social media exposure, and create the kind of buzz that would drive interest in the product. At least that seemed to be the plan.
Meghan over the weekend was promoting her new jams. Apparently everyone in her family likes a different jam. Are you ready to hear about it?
Everyone in my family has a different favorite. My husband loves the raspberry, Lila loves the strawberry. Arch loves both, and I like the marmalade.
Aww, Arch loves both. I thought I had a story to tell you, but then I kind of changed my mind because I realized he likes them both. Anyway, apparently she's lying about this and everything else because it's all just to sell products. And again, she's in her fake kitchen as she's selling this stuff. She must have taped this a while back when she was taping her Netflix show, which is no longer there.
But according to many online observers, the outcome looked different from what was expected. Instead of a flood of promotional content, the public response appeared relatively quiet. In fact, many people noticed that a number of the gifted jars never seemed to make much of an appearance online. There were fewer photos, fewer public endorsements, and less visible excitement than some observers expected from high-profile recipients. Some social media users even joked that the jars may have quietly disappeared into kitchen cupboards far away from the spotlight. For critics, that launch became an early sign that the brand's marketing strategy might face challenges. What was expected to generate major attention seemed to fade fairly quickly. Around that period, some online users began using the nickname Scam Jam.
I don't want this to just be me. I want this to be a community much greater than that. So beyond bringing on writers or other people who want to share great content and who understand the voice of the site, which is like talking to a girlfriend and conversational and inspiring, I've always sort of crafted it like aspirational girl next door. Like, you can aspire for it, but you could totally attain it too.
As before, that label reflected online criticism and commentary rather than any factual finding. But it gained traction among some skeptical observers. The larger criticism wasn't necessarily about the jam itself, it was about the strategy behind it. Many critics argued that the brand appeared to rely heavily on Meghan's public profile rather than focusing entirely on products that could attract attention on their own. According to those critics, the assumption seemed to be that a recognizable name and celebrity connections would naturally create enough excitement to drive interest. And that's why some people draw a connection between the jam, the candles, and now the matches. Critics argue that a similar approach keeps appearing.
Now, what I find so ridiculous about this woman was British royalty. Okay, British royalty, and now she's selling little pieces of wood that you use to light candles. Think about it. She is selling little tiny pieces of wood and trying to turn a buck, trying to make a quick profit. I mean, the Kardashians wouldn't even sell matches.
The idea that strong branding can elevate everyday household products into premium lifestyle items. Whether the product is jam, candles, or a box of matches, the conversation often circles back to the same question. You almost have to admire the confidence behind it all. Almost. Because by the time people were discussing customer concerns about candles and branded matchboxes, many online commentators felt they had seen similar conversations before. To them, this wasn't an entirely new situation. It was simply another chapter in the ongoing public discussion surrounding the brand. Now here's where things become especially interesting. To understand why some critics have focused so heavily on current pricing, it's necessary to look back several years. In 2016, Meghan appeared at a conference in Atlanta while promoting her lifestyle blog.
She clearly has no one advising her career. All of her publicists, all of her communications people, they've probably flown the coop. And she's left, look at these videos. She's left here filming sultry jam advertisements. I've never seen someone try harder to make jam and marmalade look sexy and have sex appeal, okay? But she has the sex appeal of a lint roller, of a bar of soap.
During that appearance, she reportedly stated, "There are no $100 candles on my site. That's so obnoxious." At the time, the image she presented appeared quite different. The focus was on products that felt more accessible and attainable. The message centered on stylish but practical purchases. items many consumers could realistically imagine buying for themselves. That approach resonated with many people because it stood apart from the highly exclusive and expensive products often associated with celebrity lifestyle brands. And that's exactly why some observers continue comparing those earlier comments with the direction the brand has taken today, which brings us back to one particular word: obnoxious.
Privilege that comes with being a member of the monarchy, but as a result, they give up their life in return for public good. So Harry knows nothing about money. And Meghan has put him, Brittany, on this sort of emotional roller coaster, which is like, one moment she's saying, no, it hasn't worked. The commercial stuff hasn't worked, so don't worry, you go back to the charity stuff. And then that hasn't worked, and so now she's putting the pressure on again. I mean, he doesn't understand money, Brittany. He has never understood money. She should have known that.
Many critics have highlighted what they see as a contrast between those earlier comments and today's pricing. The signature scent candle collection currently sells for $256, a figure that is significantly higher than the type of pricing Meghan once publicly criticized. For some observers, that change represents one of the most talked about parts of the story. In their view, an image once associated with accessible lifestyle products has gradually shifted toward a more premium and exclusive market. And now we get to the detail that really grabbed people's attention. One of the candles in the collection is called number 519, a reference to May 19th, the date Meghan and Harry were married. According to the brand's marketing materials, the candle is designed to capture the feeling of that special morning, with descriptions focused on sunshine, blue skies, joy, and celebration.
I was shocked, Dan. Like, when I first initially saw this post on X about it, I was like, no, there's just no way, because there's so much misinformation out there about Harry and Meghan in some ways. But then I was actually putting the numbers in, and you're getting stock counts. And I'm like, you should never, ever see that on a website. And in case, unless they have like 1 or 2 left, they will let you know that. But to have potentially 37,000 fruit spritz sitting out there is astronomically bad.
The concept is simple. Bring a small piece of that atmosphere into your home for $64. But critics were quick to point out another detail that added more discussion to the story. Over the years, various reports about preparations surrounding the royal wedding have painted a more complicated picture behind the scenes. One widely discussed story claimed that concerns were raised about the scent inside the historic chapel where the ceremony took place. According to those reports, there were discussions about adding additional fragrance before guests arrived. The report suggested that some individuals involved felt the idea was unnecessary, given the venue's history and significance. Whether every detail of those accounts is accurate remains open to debate.
So actually what this means is that these products, and by the way, this candle, $64 from the Was Never website, $77.94 because we ordered it from eBay, is a dud. It's a cheap mess that you cannot light. Royals don't really worry about money in a day-to-day manner in the same way that we do.
But the story has remained a regular topic among royal watchers for years. Adding another layer to the conversation, luxury fragrance company Diptyque later indicated that scented products were used as part of the wedding preparations. While the exact details continue to be debated, the broader discussion never completely faded from public attention. That's why some critics view the marketing around number 519 as particularly ironic. The candle is promoted as a celebration of the wedding day's atmosphere and fragrance, while older reports about discussions surrounding scent at the venue continue circulating online. For those observers, it's a contrast they find difficult to overlook.
She needs to put herself out there. She's not even charging. And not because it's beneath her, it's because nobody wanted her. Nobody wanted to pay her. She's not worth anything for anybody. In fact, she is a liability because there's a lot of
But the candle discussion is only one part of a much larger conversation. According to critics, the real issue isn't any single product. Instead, they point to what they see as a recurring pattern involving major launches, strong publicity campaigns, and ongoing questions about whether consumer demand matches the level of marketing attention. Take Netflix, for example. After Harry and Meghan signed a highly publicized deal in 2020, later reports suggested the company's involvement extended into supporting aspects of several business and media projects.
We're also sick of your desperate bids to make money, including this latest email pleading for everyone to continue to buy Was Never products thanks to a 20% discount. This is not a life of service, Meghan. This is not changing the world. You're never gonna fly in this industry, so maybe it is about time that you wake up.
Over time, however, industry reports indicated that the relationship evolved. By last summer, reports suggested that the original arrangement had shifted to a first-look agreement, which many industry observers viewed as a more limited commitment than the earlier structure. For critics, those developments became part of a wider conversation about expectations, branding, and long-term business momentum, a discussion that continues every time a new product launch makes headlines. Then came reports earlier this year suggesting that Netflix was no longer involved with the consumer products side of the business. Whether that move was simply a strategic decision or connected to broader business priorities has not been fully explained publicly, but it quickly generated more discussion online.
The official launch image for a $256 luxury candle bundle shows a burned, used match sitting directly on top of a flammable cardboard matchbox. Yeah, not a fresh match, a used one, sitting on a box full of matches. In the promotional photograph they chose to lead with for a luxury premium product. Yeah, the comments on the IB Times UK piece have been running all weekend. The line that has stuck is this: the composition resembles a pothead's coffee table. Wow.
And then came another round of reports that raised even more questions. Some articles and online discussions suggested that certain unsold products, including teas and baking mixes, were being distributed internally after sales allegedly fell short of expectations. There were also reports about a website issue that some observers claimed revealed inventory information that was not intended for public viewing. Those stories have circulated widely online, although many details remain unconfirmed. That's one reason some critics remain cautious whenever they hear claims that products sold out almost immediately. They point to those earlier reports and argue that inventory levels, marketing strategies, and consumer demand can be difficult for outsiders to evaluate accurately.
I have no sympathy. Yes, she should give up. She should give up because she sold the world a pup. None of us buy in to what she is selling. And also, she's just really goddamn terrible at it.
Whether rapid sellouts reflect exceptionally strong demand or simply limited stock remains one of the biggest ongoing debates surrounding the brand. Here's a question many critics continue to ask. If products are reportedly selling out so quickly, why introduce complimentary matches alongside candle bundles in the first place? Some observers say they don't fully understand the strategy. If demand is already exceeding supply, additional incentives may seem unnecessary from the outside looking in. That's exactly why the Matchbox launch drew so much attention. Critics argue that including extras with premium-priced products can create mixed impressions.
So Meghan Markle, she is selling basic matchboxes for approximately $222. You do get some of these candles though. So they come in a big candle set behind the candelabra, okay? She's marketing them as a limited edition item. And these are her candles that are inspired by her children. You know, she's using her kids' royal titles to sell these candles.
On one hand, consumers hear that products are selling out rapidly. On the other hand, new promotional editions are being introduced. For skeptical observers, those messages don't always appear to align perfectly. Of course, there could be entirely reasonable business reasons behind the decision, but online commentators have been quick to offer their own theories. Some see it as a routine marketing strategy designed to enhance the customer experience. Others view it as an effort to create fresh interest around products that have already generated significant discussion. Either way, the conversation has continued to grow. And when people look back at everything that has happened so far, they often point to a growing list of talking points. There were customer reports about candles that allegedly arrived without expected components.
And we know that what Meghan's doing is not out of love, it's not out of some type of desire to create a community, it is out of financial need. As Harry, Meghan's spare put it, when you have to roll out a full promotional campaign for your newest product, and that product is a box of matches, you've officially reached the bottom of the barrel. Not perfume, not skincare, not fashion, matches.
There were discussions about candle burn patterns. There was the promotional image featuring a used match resting on top of a matchbox. And there was the ongoing debate surrounding premium pricing. Critics argue that these discussions were not created by outside competitors or opponents. Instead, they believe much of the attention came from the brand's own product launches, marketing decisions, and public messaging. That's what many observers find most surprising. This is not a small startup with limited resources. Meghan has access to experienced advisors, branding specialists, media expertise, and resources that many business owners could only hope to have. Because of that, critics often say they expect a particularly high standard of execution from a luxury lifestyle brand. And that's why every product launch, promotion, and marketing decision continues to attract such close attention from both supporters and skeptics alike.
Are you serious?
Is that the thing?
There's
no wick.
I've had 2 people tell me that there was no wick when they ordered a candle.
There's literally no wick.
Are you kidding?
I have an empty wick list. How do I light it? I literally just noticed that. I just pulled it out. There is a hole in my Meghan Markle candle.
Which brings us to one of Meghan's own comments. During a recent interview with Harper's Bazaar, she reportedly said, "The moment that you start making all of your personal decisions based on external judgment, then you lose your authenticity." Unsurprisingly, that quote quickly became a topic of discussion online. Some critics immediately pointed to what they viewed as a tension within that message. They argued that lifestyle brands naturally depend on public perception. From product photography and branding decisions to personal storytelling and marketing campaigns, much of the business model revolves around attracting attention and creating a positive connection with consumers. In that sense, public opinion can play a significant role in a brand's success.
But here it is, the new scented candle, which we have also on her website, $5.19, because, you know, it's the day they got married, May 19th. Our signature scent, modern and elegant, love at first light. I see what she did there. Number 519 is the feeling of warm sunshine and blue skies, surrounded by love and laughter. This signature candle is inspired by the ease and joy of a day that holds Meghan's most cherished memories, her wedding day. May 19th, bright and refreshing, with quietly grounding notes of Moroccan mint, white tea leaves, and a back note of woodsy cardamom. Number 519 fills the room with a soothing, welcoming fragrance that remains our founder's tried and true favorite, housed in a beautiful ceramic vessel. A vessel.
That's why the quote became another major talking point. Critics questioned how a business built around image, presentation, and consumer engagement fits alongside a message about not being influenced by outside views. Whether that criticism is fair or not, it's a discussion that tends to reappear whenever the brand makes news, and the conversation didn't stop there. The same interview also sparked discussion about reports that Meghan is sometimes introduced by her royal title during certain appearances. Supporters see nothing unusual about using an official title. Critics, however, argue that it can seem difficult to reconcile with broader messages about independence and personal identity that have often been emphasized publicly. And that's what keeps this story interesting for both royal followers and critics alike. Every new product launch appears to trigger a larger conversation, not just about candles or matches, but about branding, image, celebrity influence, and the difference some observers believe exists between public messaging and public perception. In another interview, this time with Bloomberg, Meghan discussed aspects of her experience as a working royal and explained that wearing nude tights had felt, in her words, inauthentic. That comment quickly caught attention online. Out of all the traditions and expectations associated with royal life, many critics found it surprising that hosiery became one of the examples highlighted in a discussion about authenticity.
She's selling this candle on the website. She's peddling a massive lie at the center of her latest as ever launch, unveiling a $64 scented candle inspired by her wedding to Prince Harry. Even though she always complained, apparently reports say, she complained about the St. George Chapels smelling musty ahead of the ceremony. Apparently, she wanted to spray air freshener all around venue before the guests arrived. So is this a candle that just reminds her of the scent of that air freshener or of the actual musty St. George Chapel?
Since then, some observers have continued comparing those earlier comments with the image being presented today. Major media projects, premium lifestyle products, and higher-priced collections have all become part of the conversation. Critics have also pointed to products inspired by personal milestones and important memories, arguing that the brand increasingly combines personal storytelling with commercial offerings. That's where the authenticity debate really takes off. Supporters see someone building a business around meaningful experiences, personal values, and carefully developed branding. Critics see something different. They argue there is a growing gap between messages about authenticity and the realities of marketing premium lifestyle products to consumers. And then there are the candles themselves. Critics continue to question how a luxury candle collection can justify premium pricing while facing ongoing discussions about product performance and customer expectations.
Meghan handed Harry an ultimatum about money while the brand she's running is selling tourmaline candles at $256 a bundle, and the household is reportedly burning through $3 to $6 million a year. So basically, the Montecito bank accounts are tunneling as well. So the way shutters source frames it. Meghan is the engine. She has always been the engine for deceit and, grift and all that stuff. And Harry is the obstacle. And for context, Harry reportedly sits on roughly $20 million from Diana's estate and a bequest from Queen Elizabeth, locked in a trust with a restriction around education and old age. I think that Meghan needs some...
Whether those concerns ultimately affect the brand long-term remains to be seen, but the conversation surrounding pricing, branding, and authenticity clearly isn't fading anytime soon. Whether those reports reflect isolated customer experiences or a larger trend remains a matter of debate, but one thing is clear. The conversation hasn't disappeared. The matches were presented as the final touch, the extra detail meant to complete the collection. At least, that was the impression many people got from the launch. But instead of quieting the discussion, the matchboxes ended up drawing even more attention to the candles they were designed to accompany. In many ways, that's what makes this entire story so unusual. The matches didn't shift attention away from existing concerns. If anything, they encouraged people to take an even closer look at the products at the center of the discussion. Critics argue that adding accessories naturally brings more focus to the overall customer experience rather than less. Just look at the timeline people have been talking about. There's a wedding-inspired candle tied to a meaningful personal milestone. There's a premium candle collection priced at roughly £190. There are ongoing online discussions about product performance and customer expectations. Then, right in the middle of all that, comes the introduction of branded matches designed to complement the collection.
Netflix tied a lot of the money that they gave Harry and Meghan into the As Ever stock. Netflix said, okay, we're going to give you the money that's part of this lump deal, but a good chunk of it is going to go into developing your inventory. Well, Netflix did that. Now Meghan's stuck with the inventory that can't move, which means all their money that they were supposed to get for Netflix, or at least a good chunk of it, is tied up in her terrible products. And she is not good at marketing. She is not good at figuring out what actual consumers want. And so she's constantly stuck in this endless loop of failure, and she has no one to blame here but herself. At this point, As Ever looks like it's pretty much dead already.
It's not hard to see why social media had plenty of opinions to share. For many critics, the real issue isn't the matches themselves, it's the perception that branding, presentation, and storytelling sometimes receive more attention than the products at the heart of the conversation. Elegant photography, polished marketing, and carefully crafted messaging can create a strong image. But at the end of the day, many customers focus on one simple question. Does the product meet their expectations? Now it's your turn. What do you think about the situation? Would you consider spending around £190 on this candle collection, matches included? Or do the ongoing discussions leave you with too many questions? Got something to say about this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get into it. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Tap that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it.